Easy does it. Done. This is the new Moza R3 direct drive wheelbase. 3.9 Newton meters of torque. It's absolutely tiny. And I have reviewed it on the channel, but for a bit of fun, I thought I'd bring out my other wheelbases in order of lowest power to highest power, and we can compare the size of this little fella to my other wheelbases. Let's get started. Logitech Momo. This unit was manufactured in 2005, but I think it came out a little bit earlier than that, when it launched. 1.5 Newton meters, 270 degrees of rotation. So not a lot, but this is an old wheelbase, nearly 20 years old. It did come with a sequential shifter on there though, which is pretty cool. You can actually swap it around to the other side as well. Paddle shifters as well. And look at that, the old classic table clamp you still get on Logitech wheelbases now. So yeah, it has lasted that type of table clamp all that time. And let me just show you that. Yeah, kind of a beast, but at the time this was top of the range, top of the line technology in force feedback wheelbases. So yeah, that's what it looked like. That was the best of the best nearly 20 years ago. The Logitech G923 and SimCat. Yeah, 2.1 Newton meters of torque. That's the G923, not SimCat. A fairly newish wheelbase. I think this came out a couple of years ago, but a wheelbase which is based on a previous generation of Logitech wheelbase, the G29 and G920, and going back to the G27 and then back to G25. So a wheelbase which is still using fairly old type of tech inside, just refined over each generation, and this is simply the latest version of it. But still popular, even after all these years. Very reliable. That's why they still get picked up. That's why still people buy them and use them for many, many years. You can still find G25s on eBay, going for quite a lot of money for some odd reason. I don't know why, but they do. I guess it's because they're reliable. But quite compact. And there you have it, the Logitech G923. The Moza R5, 5.5 Newton meters of torque. So it's a little bit taller, a little bit wider, a little bit longer, and of course a bit heavier to accommodate a larger motor, since it's a bit more powerful. So you can just see how it scales up from a 3.9 Newton meter torque to a 5.5. And that's the Moza R5. The Fanatec CSL DD. So either 5 Newton meters or 8 Newton meters, depending on the power supply you plug into it. I'm going to call it 8 Newton meters, since that's how I run this wheelbase. Fairly compact, but compared to the R3, it does look quite massive, doesn't it really? The Fanatec is pretty much a square block here. So that's the size of this thing. It is, easy to handle, but it does look weirdly massive compared to this little fella here. Fanatec CSL DD, 8 Newton meters. We're back with Moza and the Moza R9. So 9 Newton meters. 1 more Newton meter than the CSL DD, and interestingly the Moza R9 is slightly smaller than the CSL DD as well, but of course a whole lot larger than the R3 here. You can just see how short it is. It's just barely breaching the top of the actual wheelbase here before you get to the steering column. That's how small this thing is. And this is a very compact wheelbase. And there you go, the Moza R9. The Thrustmaster T818 coming in at 10 Newton meters. Thrustmaster's only direct drive wheelbase currently at this time. Just a big hexagon sort of shape. Not too heavy since there's a lot of plastic here, or reinforced plastic polymer. Even the quick release, that's plastic as well. There is some metal parts of course, but it's very plasticky. That's fair to say. You can find this out in my review since I do a teardown on this, so check the description. I'll leave a link to my review to this wheelbase and indeed some of the other wheelbases I'm showing you today. But clear to see, fairly large. Let's put it on top, give you some perspective of how large this is compared to the R3 here. Thrustmaster T818, 10 Newton meters. The Logitech G Pro weighing in at 11 Newton meters, and this thing is an absolute beast. You can see here it is huge. The flared out front, the design of this thing does give it good stability on a tabletop, and that's why it is so big and kind of bulky like this. But at the same time, it does mean you do need to have a big desktop. And even on the sim rig, this thing is slightly awkward to mount since it's its unusual shape of it doesn't lend well for an easy mount. You do need to kind of work around it. So not great. I wish it was a little bit more convenient on the size, because I do like the force feedback from this wheelbase, but I really don't like the size of it. I'm not a massive fan of the look of it, to be fair, either. But I can look past that when it runs so well, because it's a very good force feedback wheelbase. I just wish it was a little bit smaller, and it'd make it a bit easier for me to actually work with. But look at that, it's bonkers, isn't it? Yeah, well there you go. That is the Logitech G Pro, and it is 11 Newton meters. And now we're on to the Moza R12. The Moza R12 is 12 Newton meters. There you go, it's the R12. It's not the R9, as you may be thinking I've been fooling you and bringing out the same wheelbase. Now, let me just prove it. That's the Moza R9, and it is basically the same size, but it is heavier. It's about a kilo heavier than the other wheelbase. So essentially, it's the same size. The steering column is slightly different. This is slightly thinner than the R9 though, sort of more refined, I guess. Makes no difference, very stable. Great wheelbase. I would consider this to be my kind of go-to wheelbase these days. It's just brilliant, really, really good. Great size, good power, great fidelity, awesome wheelbase. And the other thing I like about it is a convenient size to work with as well, opposed to like the Logitech, which is just awkward basically. But yeah, that is the Moza R12. The Camus 15 Newton meter DD. This thing is very, very heavy. My heaviest wheelbase I have, and actually quite awkward to work with just due to the sort of like the weight of it, not the size. The size isn't too bad. You can see the height is actually pretty decent. Not too much taller than that one, which is good. Of course, a lot deeper. You can see from that angle there. But let me just put them side by side. And yeah, it's several wheelbases longer than the R3 here. So yeah, a very, very heavy wheelbase. Sturdy metal and everything like that. Quality of the fidelity of the force feedback, surprisingly poor from this wheelbase. It's powerful, but the detail that comes from it is not good. So I'm showing you, just because I'm showing it to you doesn't necessarily mean I enjoy using this wheelbase. I really don't. It's okay, but I don't think it's worth it. It's better to get, if you're looking for 15 Newton meters, pay more, avoid this. That's my advice on that one, but you can check out my review. It's all in there, guys. Anyway, there you go. That is the Camus 15 Newton meter DD. And finally, the Bodnar 60 Newton meters. Now, the wheelbase itself is not that large. Essentially, it's just a bare servo motor on a bracket, and that connects via these very thick cables to a controller board housed in a sort of like PC case. Essentially, it's not a PC case, but it's that sort of mini PC sized case. let's say, and that has the controller board and also the power supply. So although this is actually quite easy to work with to mount, because it's not too, well, it's got a bit of heft to it, but it's not too sizable. It means it's easy to mount, but you do need to deal with that extra sort of element of just that kind of box you need to put somewhere. So not quite perfectly convenient, but at least this is easy to work with on my sim rig, which is a good thing. I've had this for many years, and it's a good wheelbase. It's really, you know, fidelity of this thing is still outmatches anything I have, but it's not really worth it these days. This is a wheelbase from, you know, several years ago. One of the earliest, if not the earliest, direct drive wheelbase that you could ever buy, and it's still expensive now as it was back then, but so many other products have caught up, and this is basically just stayed kind of static essentially. Even the drivers haven't been updated for years. So although it will work with lots of games, there'll be a lot of games this doesn't work with, quite honestly. So as much as it is a excellent wheelbase, it seems to be sort of, it's had its day really. But there you go. I haven't reviewed this, but I should maybe one day. But there you go, that is the Bodnar 16 Newton meters. Yeah, I thought I'd just build a tower of wheelbases just to end this video. Why not? Just play some wheelbase Jenga maybe. Let's see if I can take this one out. No, I'm not going to do that. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Look at this, crazy, isn't it? But it's going to make a good thumbnail at least. But yeah, that's it. That's the R3 from Moza compared to all my other wheelbases. The size comparison. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, happy simming, and bye-bye for now.